Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Movement. For those of you that have not yet met me, my name is Zoe Levine, and I'm here to help us all move better, which might not sound as fun, but the real goal is to help us all feel better all most of the time for all of life's adventures, not just at the office. And we're doing that by what we were just talking about before we started recording, this idea of small habits that you can bring into your life on the daily. It's different than that normal thing that we think of as exercise, right? Getting on the mat or having a special time. And really, it's what we do most often that matters and that really changes our bodies. And I'm here offering little ways to start doing that, to move differently, to think about movement differently, and to bring it into daily life in a way that makes a big difference for your body and helps us to feel better and move better, right? That in mind, last week, we started playing with this kind of new squat idea that's going to help us get to, I was saying next month is all about finding your squat. I know it seems so silly, but if you picture that deep squat, right, I'll just show in the fitness world, honestly, you've seen these squats, right? That, you're lifting weights, you've got weights and you're doing these guys for a warm up, right? Is this familiar to you a little bit? And for some of you, you're already, I can't do that. My knees bother me. And for some of you, there's always that rule in fitness, like don't let your knees go over your toes and keep your weight back and don't ever get your butt lower than your knees, right? That's a thing that happens in fitness. Well, that's not how life works ideally. Right now, it is how life works because you don't ever have to get your hips below your knees because we're sitting. That's as low as we get. So what we're going to try to do today is start to talk about how to get out of that, right? We're stuck in this cast of the chair. You can picture those two 90-degree angles that we make, right? 90 degrees at the hips, 90 degrees at the knees, and that's where we get stuck most of the time. If we're folding at all, it's kind of in more of a curled in position, which is different. This curve right here is very different than that deep fold that we would find in a squat. So just know that we're looking for a little bit of that. For today, I am going to encourage you to get down to the floor in whatever way that you can. So here's how that's going to go. It seems like most of you who are here right now look like a lot of you are in either kind of an office-y space or at home even, which is going to make this a little bit easier. So just to start, as our warm-up is just going to be, can you please get onto the floor? You can get down to sit on the floor. If the floor is too far away, grab, it could be a stack of books, yoga block, a bunch of blankets, a stack of towels that could bring the floor closer to you if it really is horribly difficult to get up and down from the floor. You can also, another helpful, I'm not going to call it a cheat, I'm going to call it a helper, right? Is to use something else to help you get down. Sit on the floor and then find a way to get back up. You can use your hands for now, right? We're baby stepping. However you get back up, right? Be gentle on your back and your knees, get all the way up to standing. Find a new way if you have options. Some of us kind of need to do the same thing every time, right? In the beginning, just like use some help, use some support, find some help on the way down, right? Get all the way down. And notice all of the parts of you that have to bend pretty deeply, right? This hip, knee, ankle, all has to bend pretty deeply to find your way up. I would avoid positions that don't feel okay on your body. And if this is really hard, again, find something that's a little bit higher off the floor and find a way to get down there, right? If that's easier. And then find your way all the way back up. Keep going. Find your way all the way back down. So you can find a different way to get down, right? There's a kind of bending one knee, the other, right? And getting all the way back up. And getting all the way back down. And you could be in a different position while you're down, and I promise we're going to stay down shortly. Some of you might already be able to kind of find a squat and with help, get yourself up without pain. That's amazing if you're there already. If not, we've got plenty of things to help us with that. Good, all the way back down. Do you see how much work that is? You're getting a little workout here and all the way back up. So that's one thing. If you're ever at a loss for things to do, just put on your favorite song. And I mean, if you're really at home, you could be all the way down on the floor and then get all the way back up. Put on your favorite song, do that the whole time, get all the way down, all the way back up. It's a lot. It's a great workout. You're getting all the folds, all the things. Come up to standing first. Before we go back down to sitting on the floor, let's review that kind of squat practice that we did with a chair last week, for those of you who weren't here. This is one of the weirder asks that I've invited you to do here. Did anyone do it? Has anyone done this little weird chair squat thing since I saw you last? You can say no, just curious. It's a hard one. All right, so maybe after today. If you didn't do it yet, after today, maybe. So this is the one where you put one foot on a chair or bench, right? We're looking for that crease, right? That kind of crease in your hip that we lose when we kind of hang out sitting like this all day. So to find that, you can put some pressure. Make sure if you're on a rolly chair, you have some way to keep it still. You're leaning into that front leg. This could be sideways. It could be in front of you. It doesn't matter. You're kind of, it's like you're going to bend your knee and almost sit your butt back into a squat, but it's small. And you're just looking for that stretch to fold into your hip crease, right? Just butt out, find a little hang out there. You can put some weight, a little weight in it, but you're sitting your butt back, right? So there is a little bit of weight in the foot, but butt sits back. And then you come out of it and kind of sit back in. You're just finding that hinge. You'll see it better on the other side. Just finding that hinge, practicing a squat, which is going to help you get back down to the floor better with less pain and irritation, right? So if you're feeling in your knees, this is a great way to start finding that space. You can move your foot around further. So straight in front of you, a little bit out to the side. You can do the same thing, little inner thigh stretch. If you're wearing really tight pants, this is going to be hard, or not just tight, but stiff. So where we kind of get into the idea of our pants and our clothing can limit our movement, right? So just stand on both feet after you've done the one side. Notice a difference between both sides. You can even stand on one leg, kind of see where that is, stand on the other. Notice if one side feels very different, more open, more solid, less kind of squished forward, and then do the same thing to the other side. I am bending my standing leg to kind of sit your butt back. It's like you're trying to do a fitness squat, but it's going to be less pressure on everything, all of your joints. And it's not a tuck, sad puppy scrunch, right? You're trying to keep, imagine your pubic bone and your chest kind of far away from each other. There's no way to kind of overdo it on your back for this usually. If you just sit back, there's not a lot of pressure. Just kind of finding that hip crease, right? It's not a lot of strength work yet. But you can put some pressure in. You can move the leg around. You can put some weight in it as you sit back. Just play around with that a bunch of times, finding that crease, saying hi to it, saying, oh yeah, I have space. I have space there. Good. Yeah. Excellent. And then from there, try to get back down to the floor and see if it feels a little bit easier. So again, you could be using support. You could be trying no hands. We're talking about that too, right? You can try, is there a way to get down with no hands? And back up with no hands. Might be not yet. Zoe, not yet. That's crazy. But if it's there, it's there. Notice if it's there for you. You can try to get down, no hands. Or if you need lots of hands, but see how that crease is there for you. So you might be able to find that easier and find your strength on the way up. If you have that crease, your butt's going to be there to support you up and down. Anybody feel a difference in your ability to get up and get down with a tiny bit more ease after that little squat work? Yeah, great. That's why it's there. You have the space, you can more easily get the strength. Come all the way down to sitting on the floor. Now, ultimately, today you might not have a bolster to sit on, and you might be at the office, and that might be weird, but for the future, for at home, for all the things, here's what I love about the floor, and what I would love for you to love about the floor also. When you are on the floor, especially when you're lifted up off the floor, right? Not as high as a chair, because then we have all those 90-degree angles. When you can get lower and still look for your sits bones. So I'm talking stack of towels, stack of books, yoga block, and that could be higher, 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 as high as you need to be off the floor, where you could sit on your sits bones. And I'm going to take you through a variety of ways that you could be sitting that's very different from sitting in a chair. Number one is just like this, right? We have sits bones down. Again, ideally you're on something. I realize you might not have something to sit on where you're at right now, but imagine one leg out to the side, one leg out in front of you. There's a lot of things you could do on the floor. At home, I realize at the office, maybe it's tricky. Checking emails at a computer, messing with your phone, making a phone call. You brush your teeth like this, but I've already given you some other things to do while you're brushing your teeth, like the calf stretch, right? It'd be funny, just sit on the bathroom floor. Try the other side, just sit tall on your sits bones. Also notice there is a whole rainbow of places this long leg could be, right? It could be as far out to the side as it goes. You'd be folding some laundry here at home. Again, coffee table, computer check if you need. Writing, journaling, idea, brainstorming, right on the floor. You could be in a position like this. You could move this long leg in a variety of positions, right? It's a whole rainbow of options. If you've got enough space in those hamstrings, right? For most of us, you have to be pretty high up to get that leg out in front of you. You feel that? But we're working on it. All of our habits are trying to get us more space there, but notice that one. The other bits that are fun here are working that squat position. So being able to have one knee in. And again, if this hurts you, you're too low, right? Can you find a height between your chair and the floor and just kind of bring that up high enough until it doesn't hurt you anymore? It could be very high, right? It could be a nice tall stack of blankets or towels before you're comfortable. One knee in, one knee could be open. You could have the one knee in like a squat and the other leg out to the side. I'm checking my email again. There you are working that squat. That will help you get up and down from the floor. That will help you access your glutes for everything that you do. Stairs, walking, getting up and down from the floor. If you have a fitness routine that you love, but it's hurting your knees and your back, it's because you need more room in your hips and your glutes need to be more active. This is one way to start that on that journey to get there. It's a journey. So there's a million things you can do with one knee in as if you're working on your squat. You're still tall on your sits bones. If you're way back here and this is really hard, again, you're too close to the floor. Stack up your tower higher until it's easy to sit up on your sits bones and you could multitask. Make sure you have the other legs squat ability here. Multitask. Journaling on a low table, coffee tables are great for this. Like be out to the side, leaning forward. You see how this is like half a yoga class while you're doing other work when you have access to the floor, right? So it may not be at work. Maybe, maybe not. Depends on what you bring and have available to sit on. This is very much a easier at home. Does that make sense? All right, so there's all those positions. Even just sitting upright like this is a different way to let your hips open. Little straddle stretch. You could still be doing work here, moving around. Very different, right? You feel how different all of these movements are than you've got one leg in, one leg out, than sitting on a chair in the same position all the time. Yeah? Now, find your way to stand up. Again, you can try no hands, Your hips are all stretched out, so you might be able to do no hands. If you're protecting, and especially if you've got your bolster high enough, you got your seat high enough, again, somewhere between the floor and your actual chair, a little bit lower than a chair. You could try with no hands. If that's too much, if it's hurting your back, if it's hurting your knees, it's just too low right now, you can build up to that. Try a couple more times, all the way down and all the way up, or down that minimal way. So, some of you might literally be on, let's see if I can get my chair to the lowest possible place. It's not quite super low. But you could start trying to move and stretch around here. But ideally you get a little bit lower than the lowest your chair goes, right? A low bench, something to get all the way up and down from. And if you can't get that far, then you try to go as low as you can go and then come all the way back up. And then how low can you go? Heading toward getting on the floor and then come back up. And all of that. Good. Come all the way up to standing. Grab here's another review of one that we love. Grab the back of your chair or your desk and just take a little reach forward. Open the backs of your legs, which might be more open than usual. So maybe here you're focused more on letting the ribs pull open sideways, taking your breath into the side ribs, reaching far away. Anybody bring this one into their everyday life yet? It's one of my favorite things ever. Just finding the rib opening, pulling away. Big breath into that side space. Good. And then come back to the chair. Have a seat. Sit tall. And remember, here, let's see a little bit more. Remember that tuck and tilt that we do sometimes. Tuck and tilt to find your sits bones and to feel like you're really on top of them. Do that a couple times. And then get to that peak, that vertical, that I'm at the very tip top of my sits bones. Easy chest, floating shoulders without popping them up, let them hang. And see if it's a little bit easier. Again, we do this at the end of a lot of classes. See if it's any easier to perch on your sits bones, right? Instead of feeling automatically like, actually, it's just easier to collapse. This perching thing doesn't make sense. It's too hard. So notice if you have any more ability to do that. All right, so I want to get your, in the chat, hi Jenny, in the chat, I want to hear anything that felt different. So did you notice a difference after doing some work in your ability to get up and down off the floor? You can write that in the chat. Yes, I did. Or any observations that you had, go ahead and drop that in the chat. You can say just, yes, it felt easier to get up and down. Great. Awesome. And then after sitting on the floor and stretching, it was easier to get up and down. Yes, yes, easier. Not really, but more tries. Yes. I felt my hips open after the stretch on the chair. Great. And noticing which one got you the most change is great. And maybe getting up and down from the floor was already easy for you, and that's not a big deal. If you're doing it and bringing it into your everyday life already, that's great. That's amazing. It's one of those things that we tend to give up as we age. You might have seen this in people that you know and love, where they start, like, they just can't get to the floor anymore. And it seems like, well, who cares? Like, I don't need to. As a grown-up, why do I need to get to the floor? Well, it's not just about needing to or having to, it's about the whole function of your body. Remember, the movements that you give up, you're giving up, especially this is a major movement vitamin, the ability to get up and down off the floor, the strength to do it, the folds and the flexibility and mobility to do it. And if you're giving up the movement, you're giving up all the little parts that make it happen, which you need for a million other things. Just decent alignment, just easeful stacked alignment without pain in your back, without pain in your neck and shoulders all the time, without pain in your knees. Your hips need that ability to move that way, your knees, your ankles. It'll change the way you walk, it'll change the way you sit and stand. So that's why it's important. If you can't do that at the office, your challenge for the week is to find some place, and if you already know where you're going to put this, you can write that in the chat as well, but to find some place where, or time or activity that you do that you could switch. Instead of being in a chair, could you do that activity on the floor? Could you set up your house, your office in a way where you do have a low table, you do have a stack of towels that you could put there, and you could do some work there, work, journaling, social media, email, watching TV. Actually, one rule that my husband did for a while, my last comment, I'll let you go, is before you lounge on the sofa in the evening TV watching time, is just have your setup sitting tall, TV's already on. And then you sit in all the different ways, you kind of sit and watch in all the different ways for a moment. And you might end up being really comfortable and end up stretching a lot. That's great too, but just have a moment to sit down on the floor like that. And then you go lounge on the sofa, right? So start thinking of where you might put that in your world. Maybe it's while you're working, maybe it's while you're hanging out with a friend, maybe it's while you're watching TV. All a good place to befriend the floor. That's the idea, is make the floor your friend, the habit for the week. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Tell your friends about making friends with the floor. And oh, I see the TV commercial breaks are a good way to remind yourself to move. Yes, folding laundry is a great one. Little step stools you can sit on. Yep, TV time. Great. All right, tell your friends to befriend the floor as well. See if you can work that into your life. And then to bring in last week's, don't forget another way, if you can't get to the floor and you're working toward that little 1 foot on sit back is a great way to start improving your squat. That's a little bit low key, right? It's a great, I'm getting up from my desk. I'm just going to do a few, just hello to that hip crease and then get on with your day. All right. That's it. Thanks for joining from the road, Jenny. Thanks for everyone for joining in.
Thanks, Zoe.
Thanks, Zoe.
See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.